open the LDC meeting with a roll call, please.
Mark Doyle,
Here.
Amy Bonnet,
Here.
Peter House,
Here.
David Cohen,
Here.
Brian Berry.
Are there any conflict of interest disclosures here? None. Proof of meeting notice went out. Bills and communications, none. An approval of minutes. We take the motion.
I'll make a motion.
I second the motion.
Second, Tom.
Amy Bonnet,
Approve.
Tom LeCount,
Approved.
David Cohen,
Approved.
Michael.
Approved. Jane.
Yes, we're looking at the LDC balance sheet, June 30th, 2025, seeing the cash at 2.7 million. And we have the accounts payable as a 29,000 for payroll accrual. Looking at the P&L, again, this is the annualized budget. We have income of 404,000 to a budget of 956,000. So far we're unfavorable by 552,000. We have expenses of 622,000 to a budget of 1,393,000. So far we're favorable by 772,000. We're at a net loss of 218,000 to a budgeted net loss of 438,000. So far we're favorable by 219,000. Looking at it from the 6 months, Peter, if you could put up the P&L for the 6 months for the LDC for me. You can see at the bottom, I mean, we're on budget. Though it's a little skewed because our admin fees were favorable up at the top by 162,000, but we haven't gotten the IDA money in yet.
That's on the Dutchess County, right?
The Dutchess County we will remain unfavorable for the county.
Because that was
That's the
changed from
reduction.
450 to,
Correct.
what was it changed to?
250, yeah.
Okay.
But otherwise, in that, the revenue side will be favorable, except for that one.
Except for the county fee.
Right, because we have the admin fees
Right.
right now from Mariston here. And this CIA, we haven't closed, right? Yeah. So we will be having that. So looking at it, you can say, other than the county, we should be favorable. The expenses were favorable, and that's mainly due to the salary. And also our professional service contract for marketing, the new marketing company is less than what we had budgeted for. Okay, so otherwise we look good. Any questions?
How is that new marketing company?
That I couldn't tell you. I'd have to ask Amanda.
Okay.
I think she was,
Only because we made that switch, a
right,
drastic switch.
I don't think she's had any issues.
Okay.
Have
I haven't heard anything yet, no.
anything? Have you heard?
No, the marketing company is real well. I'm Renee, by the way.
Oh, I'm
We've
Jane.
never met, but I do business and retention and expansion here. I think Duchess, and I can tell you that the marketing company is good for what we need because there's such a low vacancy rate with regards to larger properties. So they're more entrepreneur-led, sort of economic development centric, and they're learning a little bit more about the county every day during, our interactions, emails and such. And they're trying to promote, what's going on with regards to entrepreneurs in our county so that that focus, on small business stays, but also focusing on the larger businesses whenever there's an announcement such as the IBM and all that's going on soon in that realm too. So they're finding that delicate balance. So far, so good.
That's pretty positive.
Good savings then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the budget and that question about the funding from the county, since 2012, essentially the county's funding for business retention and expansion, there has been flat, about $450,000. I believe it was 2019, 2020, there was no funding whatsoever. And then in 2024, it was reduced to 250. This is largely because of the significant fund balance. And I want to make sure you were aware that for the 2026 budget, I had put in a request for 500. I do have confidence that that will go through, but that process is, we won't know until December. So we're finally going to looking to see an increase in the allocation for from the county for those services that are provided.
Okay, no, excellent. You know, I think as a independent agency, we have a budget view that is long-term, and that is the reason to be sort of taking care of our fund balance, because we need to keep survival at the highest priority, and understood that the county has to make its own decisions, but.
To that point, I had always said to Sarah that so we want to make sure that the organizations are have 3 years of operating revenues available. And then once you get to that point, that's where we have to go back to the legislature and ask for more. But we have, unlike other organizations, the contribution has been flat.
Yeah.
Everybody else has gone up. And I would say it's probably to the tune of about 2.4 million that it has saved the county in what this organization has paid for tourism almost its entirety in 2020, and the lack of contributions, or the lack of any escalation contributions over the last 12 to 13 years.
That doesn't even bring into the discussion the increase in business in the county and taxes paid to the county. So, yeah, very good. Now, very good. So that's the financial picture. I think, Ron, you wanted to have a discussion. Let me just see, go back to the business here. We actually have, before we do that, to do our elections, just as we had previously with the IDA. And I think we can roll that again as the same members of the Audit and the Finance Committee, and have Jamie include treasurer in his portfolio. Do you want to make that same motion again?
I'll make the same.
Yeah.
I make a motion to appoint Jamie as treasurer, and to appoint Jamie, Mark, and Brian to the Audit Committee and the Finance Committee.
Great.
Need a second?
Oh, and a second.
Was that for, am I supposed to be on the Audit and Finance Committee?
No, you're on the special.
The special,
The policy review.
oh, okay, I'll second that motion.
Yeah. I'm glad you asked, though.
Yeah.
Keep everything
Yeah.
clear. Yeah. And we'll make a
I'll second
motion.
the motion.
Okay. Amy Bondieri,
Approved.
Tom LeCount.
Approved.
Jane Picon.
Approved.
Mark Ford. And now
Approved, I should say that. The Housing Committee applies to the IDA and not to the LDC, is that right? So we don't need to do the same.
Wait, you're talking about the policy
The
review?
Policy Review Committee, thank you.
They do also have a policy review committee for the LDC. There are less policies involved, but I think what we've done in the past is just have it there so that they could be discussed on the same date, same morning, and just have one following the other, the same way you do for the regular meetings.
Very good. So then let's go ahead and update that Policy Review Committee to include Tom as well.
So I'll make a motion, add Tom to the Policy Review Committee for the LDC.
I'll second that motion.
And Amy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Amy Bondieri,
Approve.
Tom McCown,
Approve.
James McCall,
Approve.
Mike Doyle.
Approved. Excellent. All the officers are good. Ron,
So because these are two separate organizations, I'm going to bring this up for the record again. It's related to my meeting with the county controller regarding the IDA, LDC, and he had specific questions about the 2018 audit and how the organization has responded, which I think we have, and the legislature also has responded by putting in term limits. But there were a couple things that were outstanding that I needed to get clarification on, which I've got from Jane. And there's just one last item that I needed to remind everybody, mostly for the IDA, but in the project evaluation and surveys, that the conflict of interest is put in that document as well. And that notification is made to Jasmine when she sends out the board packets in advance. And the only other thing that I wanted to bring up, and this is probably for the one of the committees in the future or a workshop, I did send out to the full board a history of economic development in the county going back to 1969, I believe it was, to kind of let you guys understand how these organizations were created and for what purposes, and why we are so diligent about our compliance and policies. And also an organizational structure, which Mark pointed out to me, I did make a mistake because our structure is so complex. So I'll be sending out an updated one. The Hudson Valley Agriculture Development Corporation funding is actually under the IDA, not the LDC. So at your convenience, if you get a chance to review that history and the org chart, we'll be setting up a time for the board to get a full briefing on this, and also the EDAC and some of what has been, some of the findings of the organizational analysis that we had ordered back in December.
excellent. Thank you very much. Well, I want to thank you for all your work in setting the table and providing us with good information. Look forward to more of that organizational homework. That sounds good. But I particularly want to thank Jane and the staff and Jasmine, Renee, all of you for picking up and filling any of the holes left by Sarah's departure. And I know it's a whole bunch of extra work. So and concern because it's all new material that you haven't dealt with, important issues. So I just want to say thank you very much. Thank you.
Peter behind the scenes.
And Peter, of course.
Peter also.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you, Peter.
You're more than welcome.
And Phil.
And there he is.
Oh, Amanda too, yes.
And there's Amanda.
We all,
So, the ability to continue on without missing a step is really pretty great.
So, Mr. Chairman, what is our next step?
Our next step is adjournment.
No, as far as acting head or. As far as.
Yes, so, that we should not close the meeting before we actually have a little more clarity on that, should we? My understanding is that we are about to launch a more detailed search. Ron, if you'd like to expand on that a bit.
Yeah, we did have one prospective applicant, and that person has decided they weren't a good fit. And there's one other option that we're considering, and also needed to talk to the staff internally, and then we would get back to you. But I had told the chairman that I was committed to be here and to support the organization and make sure that you guys weren't affected by the fact of having the executive director or CEO. I think the biggest problem that we have is the signatures and having that extra set of eyes on the transactions. So, but we're still working on that and hope to come back to you with more detail. If not a special meeting during the September meeting.
Now, considering that we stepped into this after Sarah left with, basically one person coming to the fore, should we not be really initiating that search sooner rather than later and, letting your process go forward at the same time? But it feels like we could be falling behind if we wait for that to take place and then only start thinking about a search process.
We certainly could. I think I can give you that answer mid next week.
Okay. And then if and when we start a search, how exactly will that take place? We will advertise, or can you just describe the?
We would probably, as you know, the job description had not been updated since 2015. So we need a consensus on that. And also clarity on the roles and responsibilities and the between not just of the leader, but also the expectations that the county has. As you know, the county created both of these entities for specific purposes. It is essentially what the county's desire to have certain things done not just the tools that the LDC and ID provide, but also the economic development work and the important work that Amanda Phillip do for business retention, expansion, and attraction. So we want to make sure that all the roles are clearly identified. And I think we're going to be moving towards some form of an MOU to make sure that is documented well and well accepted by the board. Earlier we were having the conversation about where we and I didn't realize the issue that it might cause back in 2013, I think, when we began the dissolution of that third public authority, that this board, IDA and LDC in the past, had always been focused on purely the incentives that it can provide. And then there was the DCEDC board, which was a much larger organization. Were not at the time held to the same standards as this board. They didn't have to do financial disclosures. They didn't have to do all the conflicts and all this other stuff. And they kind of oversaw the operations of the economic development operations, business retention, expansion, attraction, and the staff. And so when we dissolved that and the LDC took over, because it had broad powers, we didn't realize that what we were missing there was the board oversight of the staff and also the economic development activities they were supposed to perform on behalf of the county. The board rightfully and very well focused on the incentives and the duties that y'all have here. So still waiting to, review a couple options as to what we do moving forward. And I just wanted to make sure that we had that in place also, along with the job description agreed upon before we advertised or started interviewing new candidates from the outside. People on the inside, somewhat understand what's going on, but on the outside, we want to make sure that we can advertise for the exact person that we need. So just need a little bit more time to get that clarity. And a couple board members are not here today, and wanted to make sure that they are aware and on board. And I do think it warrants a workshop just to bring everyone up to date and educate them. I think the history that I provided you and the organizational chart will really help you understand what the expectations are for these organizations. So hopefully by mid next week, I can come back to you and let you know how we can begin that search. But a typical search, I would recommend not only individuals from this board and staff, but also people from the outside. So you have that perspective from the outside. And yes, we do advertising. There are a number of platforms we can advertise on. And then we get applicants to submit. We likely will have somebody who will screen them for the minimal requirements. Once that, if we get a pool of applicants, then they would get distributed to the committee members, and the committee members would review them and have a meeting and further screen them. And then we would bring in individuals for interviews and go from there. So that would be the process. It does not happen overnight, obviously. This does take time. But I have spoken to the county executive, and also I told Mark that, I would do everything I can to fill the voids in the interim. And the biggest void at this point right now is check signing and that second set of eyes on those transactions.
Great. So it sounds like the policy review committee and for the both organizations, there's quite a bit of work to do, but it may be that the organizational structure is a little bit separate to that. But maybe could be wrapped in. I'm not sure, Don and Liz, how you see that, but I think that it sounds to me like the relationship with the greater county government, legislature, and economic development community is going to be something that we actually need to discuss fully and work on, and so that doesn't sort of get by and just happen to us. We need to be part of that.
Yeah, I'm hoping I think the organizational structure that I gave you, with the exception of that one mistake on the funding for HVADC, is intact.
Yeah.
Obviously, the history is. The job description is down to some bullets that we still have to work on, and then just pass around and get approval. But it is really between what, the county's EDAC, executive, the legislature, what their expectations are for economic development. The expectations for the IDA and what you do here, and the LDC, what you do there with the incentives, is clear. And this board does a fabulous job of handling that, and so does the staff. The greater
Economic
activity and the oversight of the individuals and the strategy and everyone understanding their roles and everything just has to be clearly articulated.
Okay. Good.
And I will also just offer that, and I don't know if it was in the history or not, but this organization, from the time it was began restructuring in 2012, has outperformed and has done absolutely phenomenal. The organization that did the analysis, validated that we have exceeded our goals. I think the revenues that have been generated have exceeded anything from the past. The economic activity, we've done billions of dollars in investment, direct activity and investment, created thousands of jobs and retained thousands of jobs. Essentially eliminated the industrial vacancy rate from a high of 14%. And now, as you saw, the economic development activity has pivoted to workforce development, and Philip and the EDAC, and specifically Nick D'Alessandro representing the Supervisors and Mayors Association, are now starting to focus on not the big properties that we used to have vacant or were fear of being vacant, but also the small spaces that are in municipal, in our towns, villages, and cities. So the organization has done very well and come a long way. These are small things that are mostly internal, but they are a big deal. So I don't want anyone to think that because we're restructuring, because we're taking a look back, that it was because anything was wrong. It's that we want to be better and we want to be sustainable. And sustainable is the key word, because we're not all going to be here for the rest of our lives. So we want to make sure that whatever's in place, whoever's there can make sure this organization continues successfully. So.
All right. Thank you, Ron. Jane? Any? All right, so we'll adjourn this meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.